Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited and just honored that you are choosing to join us for this Fired Up Friday. We are just so excited to be able to do this for our industry and learn with all of you. I want to congratulate you for taking time out of your day to enhance your personal and professional development. I want to congratulate you because you are the leaders of this movement, this fraternal movement. You're the ones that care. You're the ones that are getting it right. And I am just so grateful that so many of you are out there and really doing the good work for these organizations that we all know and love so well. So today we're going to spend about 30 minutes together and we're going to talk about membership retention and engagement. And I'd like today to be solution focused. We're going to dive into, this question of is fraternity and sorority really worth it? And I'd like to come up with some solutions with you and for you, share some things for you, so that we can do a better job of communicating that and understanding how to engage our members. What if we asked that question to the world? Is fraternity and sorority really worth it? And their answer was always 100% of the time a resounding yes, absolutely, especially right now in the wake of this pandemic. What if that was the case? I mean, spoiler alert, I totally think it's worth it. And I think that and sorority is going to survive through what is going on in our world right now. And I think that we have this kind of overused word, but opportunity to really show the world who we are and what we are all about. This is where our organizations have an opportunity to really, really shine. I know you guys are all pulled in so many different directions. Being a college student, a campus-based professional, headquarters professional is not easy. In regular times, there's 75 meetings and millions of assignments, and you have to be on all these committees, and somebody's telling you what to wear and where to go and how to behave when you're there. And sometimes it feels like all too much to live up to. And then you put in this global pandemic. What? There's no rule book for this. Nobody has ever gone through this in the entire history of fraternity and sorority. There's no rule book. There's nobody saying to you, oh, here's how we've done it in the past, and here is how we think we should do it in the future. None of that exists. So you're pretty brave for being here and for choosing to lean in to the leadership and membership that you've been called to do. Is it worth it? And there's a million reasons why I think that fraternity and sorority is really worth it. But probably the most important and the one that resonates the most with me is that relationships save lives. There's so much data to support that statement. So much data out there from the National Institute on Mental Health, from even the WHO, all of these different organizations that say, yeah, relationships are probably the best thing in the world that you can do for your emotional and social and career and personal well-being. Probably the statistic that's most resounding to me comes from our friends at Active Minds Incorporated. Active Minds is a college student mental health organization. They have over 7.5 million students that they serve in a given time. And Active Minds is such a powerful organization. They look a lot at what is what is the impact that we have on emotional and mental health when it comes to just being a friend. And they're great partners of the fraternal community. And they share this statistic with us. 66% of individuals who are considering suicide will tell a friend before they will tell anyone else. That means 2/3 of the individuals out there that are in so much pain that they are considering dying by suicide will tell somebody that they're close to, like a peer or a brother or a sister or a sibling, that this is something that they're considering. That to me is astounding. And that is what fraternity and sorority is all about. That is where we have the opportunity to shine because our organizations were invented to be vessels of relationships. And as leaders, you have been given the opportunity to be the ministers of belonging for all of these people that are out there in the world. My name is Dr. Colleen Melchiorre, and I have been working at Fired Up for a really long time. I am honored to have 2 decades under my belt working in this industry. And listen, there's my contact information. That's my real phone number and my real live email. And I think my Instagram handle's on there. There it is. I love connecting with people, and those of you that are here today and are a good friend of mine, hey, welcome. Thanks for being here. And they will anyone on this web seminar will tell you I love a good text message followed by a nice FaceTime call or a nice phone call. I live with my husband and my high school sweetheart and 3 little children in a little town called Nolensville outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And like many little towns in our country right now, our neighborhood community has sort of come together to say, okay, if we are sheltered in place, as they say, what can we do for our children to make this a little less challenging? What do we do for them? And there's all these things that we do. We sidewalk chalk and we go on a bear hunt where people put teddy bears out in plastic bags, and it's really weird, but the kids love it. And for our family, I led this community wide effort where kids like put their little handprints. If you remember being in grade school and like tracing your hand, maybe you made it look like a turkey or something. Anyway, they put these little handprints out, in their windows and by the mailboxes, so that when people are walking along the pathway in our neighborhood, they see little hands waving at them. And all the children in our neighborhood wrote little messages on their handprints. And I asked my kids, we're going to do this art project and we're going to cut out our hands and this is how it's going to go down. And I said, what do you want to say to people? And my oldest was like, I don't know, tell him it's all good or whatever, right? And the baby was like, tell him to play, just really common answers that you would think of. But my middle daughter, yeah, she's so unique. She's so interesting. She lives totally in her own world, and she's just a completely incredible kid. I mean, I love all of them, but she's just really neat. And she says, I want you to tell them I love you and don't be frightened. Don't be frightened? You're 6. Like, what are you frightened? What are people so afraid of? And it got me thinking a lot, like sort of in this existential space of like, why would she say that? Are we scared of something? Well, maybe we're scared of the virus, but I don't know. I mean, there are people that are a heck of a lot smarter than me that are out there figuring out how we're going to treat this. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get through this. I don't know if we're scared of the virus, but maybe what we're scared of is the loneliness comes along with being sheltered in place, being all by yourself. What does it mean if I can't really connect? Don't be frightened. Maybe we're so scared right now because human connection is the stuff of life. And human connection, friends, is what we do best in fraternity and sorority. Is it worth it? I think so. I really do. As an organization, we look at retention and engagement quite a bit. We've done some massive studies to ask people, why do you leave your organizations or why do you disengage from your organizations? And we've learned that there's a lot of different reasons why people leave or disengage from the fraternity and sorority membership. As a matter of fact, what we know to be true is that 20% of our members will exit, like as in turn in their badge, de-sisterify, de-brotherify, whatever you want to call it, go inactive, pull a Murphy. They'll do that in a given year. Our industry loses about 20% of our members. That's not for every chapter in every organization, but as a whole in aggregate. And that's a big problem, right? 20% of our members are gone. And y'all, I got to be honest, that's in regular time. That's not in the wake of COVID-19. And why is that? And the two primary reasons that we have found are about misaligned expectations and lack of connection. Misaligned expectations and lack of connection are the two primary reasons why people say, I'm out. There's others, right? There are others out there, and this data that we have collected by thousands of left members, both in 2015 and again in 2019, have really come back to these two prominent reasons. What is this all about? Well, misaligned expectations is like not knowing what's expected of me or not being flexible with what's expected of me. So you recruited me based on these tenets and these values, and you said you were all about this stuff. And then when I got in here, it was totally different. I thought that dues were all inclusive at $600 a semester, but you didn't tell me that didn't include a formal date ticket, an intramural t-shirt, recruitment socks, whatever else I have to buy. And so I'm out because you didn't sell me what I actually bought. Misaligned expectations is also about clarity and it's about flexibility, right? And so, man, your generation, those of you that are collegiate members out there, y'all, I am, oh, my heart, I am beyond impressed with you. I think that your generation is just the neatest group of students that I have worked with in my tenure. You are world changers. You are solving problems. Probably it's going to be someone from your generation that significantly eradicates COVID-19. I'm just saying. You heard it here first. You do all these amazing things, right? And so, like, let's say you're a sorority member and you are spending time in inventing an app to cure homelessness in your, metropolitan area. Well, when somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, Jenny, I'm going to fine you $50 because you missed cosmic bowling with ATO," your interpretation of that is like, what? What do you mean? Like, I was doing important work. I was in a lab doing cancer research. I was, helping the elderly at this nursing home, right? Like, what do you mean you're going to fine me $50? Those are not where my priorities lie. Right? I loved cosmic bowling with ATO when I was in college. Don't get me wrong. But some students today have this, the expectations are the same for everyone, and they shouldn't be. And lack of connection is really about the stuff we've been talking about. I don't have a best friend here. I don't feel the relationships. I don't feel like what I'm supposed to feel. Or maybe I think I could feel it, but I don't feel it really early enough. The most common phrase that we hear in our qualitative analysis when we ask people about lack of connection, most common phrase we hear: I did not matter. That blows my mind. Because we're organizations where mattering should be the most important thing, over and above our social capital, over and above our child to pull ratio, over and above our step shows, over and above our new member process, over and above how many stars we got for the accreditation that somebody said we should do. The connection is what matters most. And so to hear people feel like, man, my mattering, I didn't matter here. Nobody noticed whether I was here or not. And that's why I left. It makes sense, right? Because if you don't feel like you matter in something, then why would you do that thing, right? So let's get down to the brass tacks here, shall we? I mean, how do we solve this, right? And listen, in this episode here, we're not going to solve all of the world's recruitment and retention based problems. But I do want to tell you, here are the three things that I think we can do. This is the formula. These are the things that you can do in your organizations to kind of solve this question: is it worth it? Yes, it's worth it. And how do we engage our members in kind of a digital world? So here we go right now. I think it's really about connection, value statements, and expectations. Okay, so if we can focus on these three things, and we'll dive into these just a little bit: connection, value statements, and expectations, then I think that we're going to have a good set of criteria for you all to take back and implement with your organizations and communities. Let's dive into this first. Let's think about that concept of misaligned expectations and how do we align them? Well, there's a lot of different reasons how we can do that, a lot of different ways that we can do that. But I'm going to go ahead and share this to you a little bit larger here right now. And what I want you to see here is that, so often we communicate about what we're doing in fraternity and sorority and these kind of very like general, vanilla, sort of like basic ways, right? And that's not your fault. It's because we all assume, right, that everybody kind of is like we are. As a member, right? And so, as a leader, as an employee, whatever it is that your role is, you think, okay, I'm going to say this once and everyone's going to get it, right? Or I'm going to say this is the rule just because, and everyone's going to be cool with that. And you know what, y'all? That is not always the case. We have to think about things we're communicating, the expectations, both spoken and non spoken, in our organizations in this way. What is it we're saying? Why should we be doing it? And how does it align with something that we need or what our organizational values are? Alignment statements are really about kind of bringing home the expectation. So let's look at a couple of these. What? Here's an expectation. Right now, we need all of you to attend virtual chapter meetings. Why? Because gathering matters. We are giving out important information, and attending virtual chapter meetings gives us skills for life. We might look at aligning this in a comment like, we're an organization that's about more. Part of that more means learning how to conduct and show up to online meetings. This is a real life skill you will always use. And so instead of being like, hey, everybody, we need y'all on here. It's 10 a.m. Pacific time, and we need you to be joining us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, whatever, right? Like, we've got to say, hey, we're doing these online chapter meetings, and this is why we want you to be here. And this is what it's really all about. You see, this is really good for members too, especially those that are a little bit younger, because they also want to have this pragmatic understanding of what's in it for me. I'm going to do this, but why does that matter? Like, how is that going to help me in the long run? And why is it relevant to what I am trying to accomplish in my life? Here's another one. Here comes another one. Pay dues. Okay. And well, why do we do that? It keeps the organization running. It helps our philanthropic efforts. It allows us to host fun events. And listen, when we pay dues, the cost of living in our house is lower. Hey, we all need to keep paying dues because we didn't put COVID-19 in the budget this year. We have no idea what's going to happen next year. And we may need this money to help us recruit and sustain our organization. Oh, and by the way, here's a breakdown of exactly what you're paying for. Another way to look at paying dues would be, thinking through membership in an organization in COVID-19, like how are the dues impacting that membership for the greater good, right? So I belong to a bar studio, right, like where we do ballet, and they sent out a note and they said, hey, we're going to do some online workout classes. I don't know about y'all. I've taken several of them. It's just not the same. It's just not the same, right? But the owner of the studio sent out this really sweet email, and she's like, listen, when you keep your membership going, we don't know what's going to happen here, but when you keep your membership going, you're impacting the lives of this many children, this many families. This is our budgetary need to stay open as a studio. So will you consider paying your, $65 this month or whatever so that we can just keep the lights on? Yeah, I will. Heck yeah, I will. If I had been sent an email that said, do you want to keep up with these online workouts or do you want to cancel your membership? I'd been like, cancel. But because there was heart behind it, because there was a values alignment within it, and because I was explained to why it was important, I'm thinking, okay, this is a good contribution. Here's another what, why align. Maybe some of you have had to have this conversation before. Maybe you've done it better. I don't know. No drinking pictures on social media. Hey, why do we do that? Why do we say do not post pictures of you and alcohol on social media? Why do we say don't, not even the little red cups, right? Well, we're better than that. It promotes that in order to join, you have to drink. Our international organization says so. And by the way, it's not safe because if you're posting this picture here and somebody can figure out where you are, maybe that's not safe. There's another way to say it. When we post drunk pictures, we are promoting that drinking is what we do. And we are so much more than that. our siblinghood, brotherhood, sisterhood is built on many different types of socializing. So, however you want to catch it, right? Like you can even say to your members, I know it's kind of lame, but the national organization says so. But really, there's more behind that, right? So you tracking with me here? This is good stuff. What, why, and align. So I want you to think about this, all of the different things that you can tell your members that are expected of them right now. When we get off this webinar, here's your homework. I want you to write those things down. And I want you to come up with a why and a line. And I see a lot of comments coming through over here. And I want to say to you all, listen, this is, you take what you need out of this kind of structure and utilize it and make it for your organization. However, if you're promoting healthy drinking, right, then there's a way to do that within these what, why, and alignment statements. And so I'm going to go ahead and minimize this back here. And I want to say that alignment of expectations is such a profound predictor of retention and membership engagement. This is good work that you can be doing right now. But by the way, everybody, this isn't just work that we do during a global crisis. This is work that we can do when life goes back to normal. And it will. It certainly will. Okay. This is stuff that we should be doing all the time to retain and engage our members. When I think about value statements, I think about the proposition of what we sort of are saying to people, right? And value statements are really about experience, they're about stories, and they're about the benefits of your organizations. So often we talk about fraternity and sorority in these ways where we're like, people are like, what are you doing? Is it even worth it? And we're like, oh my gosh, yes, because it's just so awesome. Or we say, yes, it is, because I just have so many brothers and sisters. Well, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we've got to kind of come at it a little bit more specifically, intentionally, and deliberately. Here are a couple examples of this. I wondered if my membership would be worth the dues I paid for my first semester. And then I started seeing myself grow. I got comfortable public speaking. I learned how to walk alongside others, especially learning to work with those I don't see eye to eye with. I got to manage a $5,000 event budget, and I saw my test scores go up. I gained valuable life lessons, and there is no virus that can take that away from me. Hey, these are actual value statements, by the way. I forgot to mention that. These are actual statements from undergraduate men and women, alumni men and women. College should be about we instead of about me. No matter what happens in the coming weeks or months, we are in this together. Look, it's busy, and just being in college runs your life. But to me, this is the time. There is no other time in your life where you can do things like joining a chapter. This experience is so worth it. And it's worth it right now. Things will get better, and we'll be able to say that we survived this together. Here's a couple more of my favorites. It's the lifelong aspect that makes it worth it to me. Nothing else in college offers the promise of lifelong friends and career connections. That's true now more than ever. And boy, it is. Here's another one. This is probably my favorite one that we have, actually. Everyone told me frat guys are paying for friends. That's not true. What's really happening is my friends and I are putting our money together to do stuff that we decide is fun and worth it to us. There's so much worth it fun to be had when we're all together again. And in the in-between time, let's schedule a Zoom call. I love that. And by the way, I didn't go through and mention all of the different mediums by which you can have video conferencing with your members, because you're smart enough to know, right? There's like Zoom and Google Hangouts and FaceTime and all those different things. All right, here's mine. Are you ready? This is a completely true story. When I interviewed for the first job I ever really wanted, I internet stalked the CEO, and I found out that she was a member of my sorority. I bothered her on the daily, trying to convince her I was the right person for the job and I could learn what I didn't know, which was a lot. She dismissed me, and then I told her we were sisters. I worked for her for 4 years, and we're still in touch. You see, these statements, these profound stories about why this matters and why it's relevant, right? So think about in value statements, relevance. Homework assignment number 2, first assignment, what, why, align. Assignment number 2, value statements. What are 3? What would you say to somebody? 3 things you could say to somebody if they said, is this even worth it? Like, why are you still doing that right now? Giving these to your members is also completely empowering. You could do, or you could ask us to do with you, we'd love to help you do this with them, a kind of a value statement workshop where you say, like, what do you get out of this? What did you get pre-COVID-19? What are we going to get post-COVID-19? And what are we getting right now in the in-between time? Value statements are these propositions that allow us to communicate to the outside world that which often is pretty hard to communicate. And it allows people to see why this is so worth it and why it matters. So, number 1, aligning expectations, and number 2, value statements. But perhaps the most important thing to think about in all of this is that you have the opportunity to profoundly impact the people in your organization by just being in relationship with them. You see, the cool thing about all of this is that when we think about why people leave and why they disengage, and I think that those reasons are still going to be true. But the fundamental part of all of this, beyond the regulations, beyond the rules, beyond the social capital, beyond any sort of drinking that we do, living in a property, whatever it is. Beyond that, relationships save lives. And so the third assignment that I want to give you is really the most important. Let me lean in real close so you know I'm super serious about this, okay? I want you to sit down with your leadership, with your students, with your fellow members, some little committee of people. Okay, maybe you could do it even by yourself. And I want you to look at the roster of members in your organization, and I want you to think about them name by name. What is their condition? Their human condition. What are they feeling right now? What are they going through? What do they need? And most importantly, are they connected to us? You'll see in a chapter of 600 or a chapter of 10 pretty quickly that you can identify the group of people that really isn't plugged in. And they are your top priority. Those people need to be the people that you call first. But guess what? I want you to intentionally and deliberately connect with every single individual member, neophyte, new member on your roster. Every single person gets a text message, perhaps, that is a request for a FaceTime call or an actual pick up the phone and call me. Every single one. Hey, listen, you got time, I think, right? You've got some time. And in this time, the thing that we can do to make this experience worth it, above all else, is this life-saving work of building and sustaining the relationships that we are entrusted with in our membership. Fraternity and sorority is different. It's familyhood. And if we do it right, it is like the best thing on a college campus and can be the saving grace for so many people that are frightened. Listen, I want you to do me a favor and connect with us right now. And we're going to take some questions, okay, in a minute. But I want you to do me a favor and connect with us. This is our stuff on all the socials here. And again, here is my actual contact information. My cell phone number, again, for those of you that may be not listening or just listening in, it's 615-260-5055. My email address, Colleen, Colleen, at firedup with a PH, if you haven't figured that out yet, .com. I love to connect with people. Truly, I am a relationship junkie and I want to help you. I want to be there for you. No strings attached free of charge. Come at me. Let me help you in your organization, your community, your chapters. Lots of different things out there that we can do, and I would love your feedback about today's episode here. I'm going to advance here because we've got more Fired Up Fridays coming. I am so excited that we are going to be extending this time, and then we'll take some questions here in just a second. Upcoming Friday, Fired Up Fridays. That's today, March 27th at 3 o'clock in just an hour and a half. Go Greek is not a marketing strategy. One of my absolute favorite messages that we send. Tune in to our president and co-founder, Matt Natson, who's going to do a great job at leading that. April 3rd at 12, 1, and 3 p.m., we're doing something called Fired Up Human Support, like tech support, but for humans. And it is going to be absolutely incredible. April 10th is also going to be the future of fraternities and sororities. And then again at 3 o'clock, Fired Up Human Support, like tech support for humans, technology edition. And so on April 3rd, the human supports are going to be one for NPHC, Multicultural Greek Councils, and one will be for Panhellenic, and one will be for IFC groups. So just look at our socials and or tinyurl.com/firefridays. And that will give you more information on that. So listen, we've got some time to take some questions, and I am so excited to take them. And so I'm going to start. Oh, okay. Someone asked me, what is behind me? Okay, well, let me see. Let's see if we can do this. I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. What is behind me? Okay, hold on. Let me stop my Q&A for just a second, okay? And I'm going to make my slides go away, and I'm going to make this bigger so you can see what's behind me. Hey, okay. Well, I got some flowers from the beautiful tree outside in beautiful Nolensville, Tennessee, and pictures of my family, and a picture of my colleagues over there, and some hand sanitizer. Smart move. It's my last bottle. But right here, I think is probably what you're talking about. This little picture back here. And I was inspired when I heard a fellow by the name of Travis Garner speak at our local Methodist church service to create one of these. And this is something that I'll go over with my students often. And it's, what is the formula to membership retention and engagement? And this is my little symbol-based formula here. Less about alcohol, less about punitive stuff like rules, regulations, who are we bringing to standards, more love plus, as a leader, giving clarity and caring and calm is the formula. Less beer, less punishment, more love, less clarity, caring, and calm. So I hope that's what you were talking about. Otherwise, text me at another time and I'll tell you the type of flowers these are and tell you all about our beautiful tree in the front yard. All right. My chapter is full of cliques. I wish it wasn't, but it is. And now it's even worse with this situation because the cliques are in contact with the cliques. How can I break these cliques virtually? So this is such a good question, Amanda, and I'm super glad that you asked that. So cliques are different than friend groups. So here's what I'd say. There's two different kind of mediums in sorority chapters especially, where we've got a friend group, a group of people that like to get together and they kind of enjoy each other's company. There's a small little subsection of them that kind of hang out regularly. And the friend groups would welcome anybody in to join their group at any time. And a clique is a little bit different. A group of people that likes to hang out together, but they have an agenda and they don't welcome everybody in all the time. Friend groups in membership engagement, we can use. Heck, we can really use them. Cliques, not so much. So here's how we do membership engagement in friend groups. And I hope you're talking about more on the spectrum of being a healthy group of friends. We take our most healthy groups of friends and we identify a leader or two in those groups, right? You know who they are. You know who the friend group leaders are, okay? Especially in our Panhellenic organizations, we can really identify these. And we ask them, after we've gone through our roster of members, we say, look, I see that these 5 women are not connected, they are not aligned with a friend group, for whatever reason, can you adopt them? Can you make them your social isolation buddy? Can you ensure that they are a part of your calls and meetings and whatever it is that you're doing? And when we get back to campus, can they be with you when you go do whatever it is that you're doing? When you run together, when you go to a party together, when you study together, when you go shopping together, whatever it is that you're doing, can you come together? The other thing to do is to give, if you have, like, let's say you've got 100 members, and then you've got, of those 100 members, you got 10 cliques, right? And there's maybe only one or two people that are left out. The other thing that you can do is bring those groups together by giving them joint assignment. So say clique A and clique B, we want the two friend groups here to work together on this thing, right? Maybe it's, I don't know, something about our video for recruitment, and this group was going to work on our philanthropic marketing or something like that. So that's another way to do that. I hope that answers your question, Amanda. I'll take the next question here. What are some ways to keep, oh, okay, yes. What are some ways to keep members accountable in the digital world? Well, I think that it all depends on what they're doing. Um, I think that um, we want to hold people accountable, but we want to lead with love and end with love. And so here is what I'm kind of trying to say. Um, let's say, for instance, that you have somebody that's being super naughty on social media, right? And they're doing things that are not in alignment with the values of your organization. You're not going to call them and be like, hey, you need to take that post down. You're going to call them and say, hey, I want to know how you're doing. I noticed this and I want to understand what was behind you posting that. Okay, well, here's what I need you to do and why I need you to do it, right? And so, how do we hold members accountable digitally? We do it in the same way that we would in person in a chapter. And we have a good, meaningful conversation. I'm not saying never hold your members accountable. And certainly when things are dangerous, when things are, when I think about things like bullying, hazing, excessive, illicit drug use, alcohol abuse, like those things, they need accountability. But even in those instances, those people need your love, your calm, your clarity, your caring. Let's take the next question. Are there more examples of answers to "Is fraternity and sorority worth it?" by Brian? Why, Brian? I'm so glad that you asked that. We are currently creating a document of several worth it statements that we will publish here shortly. So stay tuned. I could rattle off a ton of them for you right now, but we are currently in the process of creating that document and making it live. I see also that my colleague, Ms. Chatton, my esteemed colleague, mentioned a resource in the chat that is on our free resources section of the website. And so if you just go to firedup.com and you go to free resources, it's 44 ways to engage members digitally. I love that document. It's such a great thing. And in that, there'll be some more things about worth it. Kira, what are some ways we can make our members feel connected during this time, even though we're not all together? Well, that's a great question, Kira Sullivan. Thank you for asking it. So there are so many different things, and it all kind of depends on what the vibe of your membership is, right? So one thing that you can do, obviously, is to set up like a weekly or lunch happy hour. If you have, and not like a happy hour, but I'm saying like we're all going to gather together at noon and we're going to have a cup of coffee and chat. And Zoom is a really good platform to do that. Also, you can have up to 31 people on a FaceTime call. And so that's a really great thing to do. And they can be optional, not required. The other thing to do is if you have a member in your organization that's really funny. Maybe they do stand-up comedy for all your members and it's live and also recorded. You can go via Facebook Live from your Facebook page to do stuff like that. Maybe a member is an awesome athlete and they want to do an in-person, or live feed, not in person, workout class. So they could do that for your members. The other thing to do is give them assignments, like give them stuff to do. And that's, I think, a really big way to engage them, even though you're not all together. So we need 5 people to do X, Y, and Z. Who are my takers? And that can be everything from creating art or to taking over your Instagram feed. Have one member do that every day. There are a million different ways that we can kind of do that. And that 44 ways document is going to be real helpful for you. It's online right now for you on our website. When I reach out to a member who has been disengaged for a while, what should I say? Wow, what a great question. I love that. I think it depends on the person. But I think what you can say and what you should say is, hey, listen, I miss you. And I've noticed that you're not around. And I just want to know how you're doing. Or if you're sending a text message, you can say, hey, I got a couple questions for you. Do you have 15 minutes next Wednesday? Or you can say something like, hey, I noticed your grandmother's not feeling well. I'd love to connect with you and have, maybe a reason to connect. But ultimately, people want to hear from you when you say things like, hey, I've noticed, I notice you, I see you, and I just want to see you a little more. Um, Maybe it's awkward for you to do that. And guess what? That's okay. You could even say, I feel really awkward doing this, but I kind of miss you. And so do you think we could have a cup of coffee via FaceTime next Wednesday at 3? There are ways to kind of get around that. So great question. How do we keep our volunteers engaged and feeling appreciated during this time? I think the same thing rings true, Allie, for volunteers is that we want to give them stuff to do because, when people aren't busy, they idle. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're not, like, and you think about like, what was your life pre COVID 19 and what is your life today? I mean, oh my goodness, your schedule and the things that you had to do and the things you had to accomplish and your daily goals, like it was, phew, right? And now we're probably in a little bit of a different space. And so for your volunteers, I would make sure that they have assignments like initial, like here are 5 things we need from you, and then we're going to connect with you afterwards to see how that went. The other thing to think about is the volunteer population. And so a lot of your volunteers are going to be men and women that for the first time are working remotely. They're going to be men and women that for the first time are doing physical fitness remotely, for the first time are homeschooling their children, and for the first time are scared about health. And so anything that you can do to ask them, what are you worried about right now? What do you need? And then act on that need. And that's true for undergraduate chapters as well. What do you need? And then act on that need is really powerful. Do you think more people are quitting chapters now because of all this? I'm afraid lots are. Yeah, me too. I do. I think that anytime there is great social change, people move priority. And there is all sorts of psychology behind that. Um, do I think that that is happening? I do. But I also think that it is preventable and it's not going to be forever. So the way that it's preventable is by intentionally and deliberately reaching out individually, one by one, to check in and see how people are feeling. And again, maybe this is an assignment number 4 for you, asking your members in that outreach, what do you need to learn? This is important. What do you need from us right now? What do you need from us right now? And then respond to that need, right? So, yes, they are, and they're going to. And I think that that's normal, and I think it's okay. And I think we're going to survive it. The organizations that fully survive and thrive in it are going to be the ones that kind of get ahead of that lack of engagement. How can we keep retention on campus where fraternity and sorority numbers are getting low? Well, that is about 2 things. It's about relationships and relevance, Arturo. So this is about making the relationships the forefront of what we are doing. So I would say, less about, here is the 5-star accreditation process that we're going to roll out on our campus, and more about, here are the intentional conversations that we are having one on one with the members of our organizations. Where numbers are getting low, it's about those relationships and making sure that there is that contact happening with potential new members, even as they're enrolling in online college. Like, we've got to give a way for our members to connect with people virtually or in groups of less than 10 at 6 feet apart, right? And so responding to that need, anything that we can do to set up people being in one-on-one relationship with one another is powerful. Second piece is relevance. Why does this matter? What's in it for me? What are you doing right now? And that's about good communication. That's about good marketing, about the experience and the story of fraternity and sorority on your campus and in your organization and how you've survived this. Um, I don't know if any of you have seen that website. It's called Watch the Yard, I think. Watch the Yard. And man, there's this video on there of this woman from Alpha Kappa Alpha who's got to be in her 60s maybe. And she's going through chemotherapy. And her line sisters come to her house, and they stand in her driveway more than 6 feet away from her. And they sing her a song. And they do a little step show for her. Man, I think she calls them the Fabulous 15 or something like that. What an incredible way to say, this is still relevant. What an amazing gift. So anytime we can do that and share that is important. Seems students are having a hard time with online classes they didn't choose in the first place. Hello. How can we remind them that our FSL community is something that we still need to pay attention to? From a fraternity and sorority. Hi, Julie. I see you. Juliana is asking that. I think we need to give them some time. My esteemed colleague Haley Mangrum said this last week, and it was so profound to me. She said, maybe they're not ready yet, and that's okay. We've got to give people the space and time to settle into what's happening here. This is a big deal for them, and online learning is a huge deal. And if you think about access, like, how many of your students are first generation college students? Okay, how many of those students live at home in poverty? So do they have like all the technology they need to all of a sudden be an online student? Maybe they don't. And maybe they get it from the school, but that's a whole nother process, right? And so I think we've got to really think strongly about some of that stuff and give them some time and space to do what they need to do. And that means that you need to say to them, here are all the things that we're doing, and you should do them right now. But if you can't, that's cool. We'll be here when you're ready. And you should continue checking in on them to say, are you ready? Right? How are you feeling? Here's what we're doing. Give them resources. My cousin, Casey Powell, is a counselor, a school counselor in this like remote learning academy in California. Anyway, she's super awesome. And she shared with me this resource the other day. I could certainly share it. It's so great. She's a counselor, like she's a school counselor for kindergarten to fifth grade. And in it, like there's all these little like resources, right? Like how to meditate and what to do when you're feeling sad and all these cool little kid things. And then there's this legit link that says, book a therapy session with Miss Casey. Like, wow. And I clicked it to send her a little love note and be like, way to go, sis, you're doing great. And it was legitimately like her personal Google Calendar. And so maybe somewhere we embed in that, any resource we're sending out, click here and find a time, and we'll be able to connect. This is going to be the last question that we have time to address. So let's go ahead and get on with this next question. How can expansion consultants who are on the ground on campuses for a few weeks to a few months best facilitate the connection component among potential new members/new members? Ari, I want to answer your question. How can consultants who are on the ground facilitate the connection component between potential new members and new members? Okay, so this is about that same stuff. This is about making space for a relationship and thinking about like, how do we have more stuff we're doing together, and how do we create a space to be ministers of belonging for these two subgroups? there are no rules when it comes to relationship other than rules that are about safety, right? So, like, nobody's telling you, oh, the new members and the members, they can't mix when it comes to being around a body of water. I don't think, right? Like, I don't know. Like, maybe you set up some things for them to be able to come together. As I think you facilitate that connection too by making it like the new members are your brothers or sisters already. And so the potential new members are invited to the things that you do that aren't ritual, and they're able to be a part of those things no matter what. Um, so that was our time. We ended a little bit early. Congratulations to all of those of you that have attended. I am super, super grateful for you. And again, congratulate you on taking these steps and really uh, trying to make the most of this time. Again, I want to remind you we are with you. That is not lip service, that is legitimately true. And if I could give you an enormous hug, I would in person and squeeze you so tight. Free mom hugs all around. But right now, I can't do that. And so, the very best that I can give to you, sweet students and colleagues and clients and friends, is to tell you we are with you. We do this all the time. We are prepared and fired up to respond to whatever happens in the coming days, weeks, months, years. We are for fraternity and sorority, and we are for you. 615-260-5055. I'm looking forward to hearing from many of you to know how we can help. Thanks so much and tune in just 1 hour. It's going to be amazing. Matt Matson is going live and he is tremendous. So thanks, guys, for joining us.